Hello and welcome to Encrypted Inc. I'm your host Dan Alvaro. I will be hosting the show today because it is my show. Decrypting everything ASX and crypto for you today on the show. Tips and my strategy explained. This is it. This is everything. This is what I do. Take it or leave it for anyone that's watching. But yep, I'm going to give you a tell-all of what I do. Before I get started with that, Perth Crypto Crew shout out. You guys are awesome. Perth Crypto Group, awesome as well. Anyone in Perth interested in crypto, get on both those groups. They're on Facebook. Okay, just before I do start regarding my tips and my strategy, just some questions that I'm just going to have answered. Why are you always wearing a beanie? Put it simply, is that I feel the cold. And also I work from home, so I'm happy wearing a beanie and I'm happy wearing the clothes that I'm wearing right now because I'm at home. Why do both ASX and crypto? Why don't you just do one or the other? Now, the answer to that for me, and even from what you can see on my screen right now, is pretty simply. Now, look, every trader and investor is completely different and they have their own strategies, but I find this is what works for me. So I'm going to explain that to you. Whether, again, you get anything out of it, it's entirely up to you. Take it or leave it. So I guess the other question is, you must be making money having a YouTube channel. The answer to that purely is no. If you Google this, you'll know that you need 100,000 subscribers and also 4,000 hours of viewing time to make a penny out of this. So I'm doing this for the love of what I do and hopefully sharing some of that with you. So that's that. And another question, are you a real trader or a trader as such? Now, the answer to that is probably yes and no. A real trader, I guess, would be completely entering a market at a certain point, and then, obviously finding some place to exit and completely exiting that market. I essentially don't do that, and I give, I tip my hat off to anyone that does that. And I have a good friend of mine, Boris, who does do that, and I've learned a lot from Boris. And thank you, Boris. Hopefully, I mentioned to you, mate, that I would like you on the show. I think what your strategies are excellent, and I think you should share that with everyone. So, mate, if you're interested, just let me know. I know you said you'll think about it, but yeah, I'll be waiting on that from you. And I'll have a beer for you too, mate. Of course, MU Export. West Australian beer, great beer. The OG beer of West Australia since 1925. Okay. So yeah, to answer that question, are you a real trader? I do enter and exit markets, but I basically enter and enter crypto and ASX markets depending on what they're doing. Now, I guess to give some idea of maybe why I do this, well, let's just look at an Ethereum chart, for example. After the massive bull run we had and the collapse over here, there was, a bit of price action, but it was, quite volatile, I guess, once it happened, and then sort of steadied off. But as you can see, it just continued on pretty much a bit of a downward trend over that time. So basically, if I wanted to, I could potentially trade in this market, but I decide, no, I just want to get out of this particular market at this point in time and enter the ASX market. Why? Because basically I feel for myself there's more to gain maybe on a long term over that period than, being in the crypto market. But each individual is different, again, and I respect that. So why would I then mark certain point? I'm always looking at this market because, if I want to re-enter, I may want to re-enter at a lower period here. So I'm basically shifting, unrealized gains, and I'll get to this, from the ASX market and moving it into the crypto market. Why? Because, I might be bullish about something that may be happening in the crypto market. So I want to see that run. And I guess what I do as an investor is I weigh up, do I think the gains in doing so are greater than just having it in the ASX market, and that's what I think about, and that's what I try and potentially ride a wave in a different market because it's beneficial on a gains perspective. So what I'm going to talk about today actually is I'm going to go and do a range of shows to explain how I do my investment strategy, and I'm going to break it up into different categories, just different sort of like subjects that we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to list through these subjects as a brief overview, and I'm literally going to leave it with all of you with those subjects. Now, if you're interested in crypto and ASX and maybe doing this for yourself, I encourage you to just listen to maybe what I said. If you're not, you don't have to listen. You can just, forget about it, and that's fine too. This goes back to why I do this show. Basically, when the ASX market closes at 2 o'clock, there's a time frame that I guess between 2 and maybe about 9 o'clock at night here in Perth, West Australia, where I've got some free time. So I pretty much do the channel for that, and also for other reasons which I have mentioned on my introductory video. So it's free. I'm making nothing from it. Take it or leave it. Going back to the topics, market. What I'm going to talk about in particular is market movements, trends, and why. So why would you be, particularly interested in a particular stock or crypto based on, what the market might be doing, looking at charts, and what relationship that has to what maybe is happening, and also trends, so what's happening in the real world as well as the crypto world. Okay. Money flow. We're going to talk about money flow. Money flow is an interesting one. You have to sort of have this mindset of thinking like a hedge fund or institution as to maybe where they may want to enter, as to what money flow would do to that particular market, and we'll get more to that. Improvements and upgrades. This goes to both ASX and crypto. So this is more of a fundamental side as well, but importantly, it has an effect on the market. And also it goes on to scalability, which I think is important in both crypto and ASX markets. I mean, what you're investing in, is it scalable? What's its market? Is it a domestic market? Is it international market? Does it have a huge market as such? The bigger the market, the more it can scale. The more it can scale, the more it has an effect on price. World trends. This is important as well. I mean, what's happening in the world? What are we trending to? I've given hints on my previous videos about, particular stocks. I mean, why do I invest in those stocks? Is it a world trend? Is that particular resource quite important right now and potentially in the future? Importance of charts and fundamentals combined. Now, this is important. As a trader, you could literally forget the fundamental side of everything, and I respect that. I think, you can just say, look, I'm just going to look at a chart and just analyze it on a small time frame. And, I appreciate the people that actually do that. I think that's a real skill in itself. And Boris, thank you for sharing your knowledge on that, because as much as I understand what you do in a small time frame, and I respect that, it's not exactly what I do, and I'm willing to learn and maybe even incorporate that into somewhat as to what I do. So look, again, Boris, if you're out there, hit me up, mate. I want you on the show. I think what you have to say is very knowledgeable and important. I think a lot of people would like what you have to say. Okay, well, I'm also going to talk about FUD as well. So I'm going to do a topic on FUD and how do you mitigate FUD? I think that's the most important thing, because FUD's going to always be out there regardless of what you invest in. There's always a potential for that. I guess I'll give you my way that I have, and I'll give you an example of, something that I experienced a largely amount of FUD on it, and whether it's FUD or if it's even. So what is FUD? Is it some just ridiculous news that makes no sense and has no truth behind it, or is it just it has some truth behind it, but it's negative news and it has an effect on the market? In the sense, I think it's both. If it's negative publicity, I consider it FUD. But I mean, each has, I guess, their own take on FUD, but that's what I think. Okay, ASX, I'm going to talk about core resources as well on the ASX side. I'm going to talk in particular the resources price, in particular for that maybe particular resource or mineral, and what effects that have on a market. For example, like a price per ton for iron ore, or anything, copper, it could be zinc, it could be anything, lithium. Okay. All right, that's me done. I'm gonna have a drink of my beer because that's the end of my show today. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's pretty much it. So stay tuned. If you like what you hear me talking about, especially in this particular video, like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can see me on Facebook at Dan Encrypted, or Instagram if you just want to see a little bit about my work life and what charts I got up at that particular time. So that's also Dan Encrypted. You can follow me on Twitter. I am Dan the Encrypted Man on Twitter. And that's pretty much it, guys. Also, I have this YouTube channel. So yeah, if you like the content, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all very shortly.